All right, I'm gonna show you how to make the simplest, easiest, quickest, most foolproof vinaigrette ever. A couple key things for a vinaigrette. I do not want to wash a bowl and a whisk and like a cutting board and all these things for a vinaigrette when, you know, I've spent my time putting together a salad in a big bowl. A couple of things for a vinaigrette. I am a firm believer that, I don't want to create more mess for myself. I want to simplify things and I want to be able to clean as I go most effectively. And so easiest way to make sure I'm staying on top of cleaning as I cook is to not make messes. So the easiest way to not make a mess is to not use every single piece of equipment you have in your kitchen to make one single meal. So for the perfect vinaigrette, you need a mason jar, you need the lid, and you need three main elements. The first element is vinegar. You can use white balsamic, you can use apple cider, you can use red wine vinegar, you can use lemon juice, you can use rice vinegar, whatever you want, but an acid. The second main ingredient obviously is oil. Olive oil, avocado oil, hemp oil, whatever kind of oil you want. Your third key for the perfect vinaigrette is mustard. Mustard acts like an emulsifying agent. So it's like if you're making mayonnaise, for example, your emulsifying agent would be egg yolks. It's what allows liquid and fat to come together and stay together. Mustard isn't gonna work perfectly like egg yolks do for mayonnaise, but it's gonna do a really good job of keeping your vinaigrette in that kind of dressing texture and consistency rather than splitting apart. If you just use oil and acid and mix it together really, really well, it'll stay together for a moment, but then very quickly it'll separate. Mustard will allow that separation to not happen even close to as quickly. So that's why I like to use it. A couple of optional keys for a vinaigrette is a sweetener. I love maple syrup. Of course, every time I get to use maple syrup, I'll use maple syrup because it's the best. And really that's it for my basic vinaigrette. Herbs, parsley, rosemary, oregano, thyme, whatever you want to throw in there, also beautiful, okay? So there's a simple ratio to start off with, and that ratio is 2 parts oil to 1 part acid. So for the sake of being Canadian, I'm gonna use apple cider vinegar, maple syrup, and oil. So we'll start off with however much vinegar we want. It doesn't matter, we're not measuring. With the oil, now we have to measure, okay? And since you have a glass jar, the easiest way to measure is to just take a look. If you see here, I got about 1 part vinegar to 2 parts oil, and that's the perfect ratio. Next, I'm gonna add in my mustard. I like to use a grainy Dijon, just because I love grainy mustard. You don't need a grainy mustard, you can use regular Dijon. That'll work perfectly as well, and that'll give you just a more kind of uniform smoothness. But I love grainy mustard, so that's what I'm gonna use. And we'll put about a tablespoon. Next, we're gonna sweeten it up a little bit. Once again, about a tablespoon of maple syrup. And last but not least, seasoning. So salt and pepper. I always use fresh cracked pepper. So we're just gonna give that, crack that into the mason jar. And then we're gonna add our kosher salt in there. Now that I've added my seasoning, I've got all my 3 elements. I've added my sweetener and anything else I wanted to throw into the vinaigrette. It's as simple as closing it up and shaking it up. Now I got a beautiful vinaigrette. I'm gonna keep it in the jar the whole time. I'm gonna use it. I'm going to leave it in the fridge in the jar. When I take it out of the fridge, I'll just spoon some over top of my salad, and then I'll put the lid back on, stick it back in the fridge. 2 days later, 3 days later, a week later, I'll pull it out of the fridge, I'll give it another shake, and I'll use it again. Simple as that.